welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland. With me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, hello and welcome to episode 1 of Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. I'm Kelly. I've got my cup of tea. I hope you've got yours and you are ready, because today we're going to talk about all the things that you need to do as soon as you get engaged. So if you're newly engaged, congratulations, welcome to the world of wedding planning. And today we're going to talk about everything that you need to do. So I know that there are a lot of things that you need to think about when it comes to planning a wedding. There are tons of tasks. It can feel a little bit overwhelming if you've never planned a wedding before. And so if you're wondering what things to prioritize, what tasks you should be thinking about now, and which tasks you can put aside for the moment, this is the place to be. So let's get in. Very first thing, announce your news. Now, I know that sounds really obvious, but it's the first thing that you want to do. Now that you're engaged, you want to tell people. So text your parents and your family members, send messages to your besties, post something on Instagram, and let everyone know that you are engaged and you're getting married. Now, an expert tip from me is to make sure that you tell your inner circle personally before you go public. It's just a good way to make sure that you are telling the ones who need to know, that they get to hear it from you before they come across your announcement on Instagram. Next thing you want to do if you're planning your wedding is actually don't rush. Don't rush to get stuck into the planning immediately. Actually take a little bit of time to just enjoy being engaged. If you want to go away together, do that. If you want to just go on a few date nights, if you want to just kind of soak it all up and just enjoy being engaged, do that before you do any planning. And if you feel like you want to do even more celebrating, you could throw an engagement party, invite people over, and just do whatever you want to celebrate being engaged. And now the next thing. This one, I can't stress this one enough. Get organized. When you're ready to start even thinking about planning a wedding, which is probably why you're listening to this right now, you want to be organized. So that means checklists, it means spreadsheets, it means maybe having a Trello board if that's your thing, or getting onto Pinterest, whatever you need, get yourself organized, because it's going to help set you up for the rest of your wedding planning, and you're going to thank yourself and you're going to thank me for it. Something that I highly recommend is a free Gmail account. So if you use that for all your wedding planning things, it means that you're not having quotes from suppliers get mixed in with your work emails, and you're not getting spam things that you normally have clogging up your inbox, and then you're missing an email from a supplier or from a wedding venue or from a guest who's RSVPing. Have your Gmail account, and that will keep all your wedding things in one place, and you'll feel so much more organized because you've done that. Now, speaking of being organized, a wedding planning checklist is literally going to save your life. Maybe I'm being a bit dramatic, but it saved my life. When I was planning my wedding, I had a wedding planning checklist, and we actually have one on Weddings Online. So if you had to go to weddingsonline.ie, I'll actually put a link in the notes so that you can go directly to the checklist, because this checklist will help you know which decisions you need to make right now and which decisions can actually wait a few months. So when you get engaged, you start to think, okay, I need a wedding venue. I need to get my hair done. I need to do something with my makeup. I've got to buy things for my wedding party. I need to find shoes. I need to buy gifts for these people. I've got to think about what meal I want. It can feel a bit overwhelming because there's literally hundreds of things to think about, but it's okay. We've broken down everything so that you know which decisions to make now, which things can wait, which things are important, which things to do in which order. That's where a checklist comes in. So if you can get your hands on our wedding planning checklist, it's going to save you a lot of stress, and it's going to help keep you organized. And it also means you're not going to forget things because it's all on a checklist. Now, next thing, this is more fun, but it's also going to help you. Join the community. So at Weddings Online, we actually have a Facebook group called Help I'm Getting Married. We also call it HIGM for short. And it's amazing. It's got over 61,000 members in the group. And so it's a great place to get advice. You can get recommendations. You can make new friends, and these friends are people who are on the same journey as you because they're also getting married. And you can talk to your dream wedding supplier team. It's pretty amazing. I'll leave a link to that in the notes as well because it's an awesome space to be. Now, the next thing, before you actually do any concrete wedding planning, you want to know what type of wedding you want to have. So this type of decision is going to help you make all your other decisions. So if you know the type of style you're going to go for, if you know how big your wedding's going to be, if you know what season you want to get married in, that's going to help you decide what dates to get married in, how many guests you can have, what type of venue you're going to go for. It really helps set you up. And it means that when you start thinking about all the fun things like your save the dates and colors and everything, you know what type of wedding you want. And so it's going to help make all those decisions so much easier. So I've actually made a list of questions to help you. And these are some things you can ask as you and your other half sit down to plan. And it's going to help you decide what type of wedding you want. So things like this. Do we want to have a big wedding or something a bit more intimate? Or are we going to go traditional or a little bit alternative and different? So that'll help you with things like wedding venues. You know, if you're going to go traditional, you may be thinking of an elegant hotel. And if you're thinking of being a bit more alternative, maybe you want to have a majestic castle, or you want to do something in your garden with a marquee and just be a bit more toned down and relaxed. Next question is, what type of ceremony do we want? Do we want a church ceremony or do we want a civil ceremony? This is not necessarily what type of wedding you want, but it's going to help you. Things like, are we going to pay for our wedding? And if we do, are we using our savings or are we going to take out a loan? Or are we expecting any contributions from anyone else, like family members? And then the next question to ask yourself is, are we set on a weekend wedding or are we open to something a little bit different, like a midweek wedding day? And let me tell you, midweek wedding days are becoming more and more popular, and they're off-peak, which means you often get really good deals. So those questions help you decide what type of wedding you want, which is going to set you up for all the decisions that are to come. Now, before we get into the planning, there's one more thing that you need to do, and that is to familiarize yourself with all the legal requirements. Now, when you think about getting married in Ireland, it can be a little bit overwhelming because there's a lot to think about. Now, we are going to go into more detail about this in another podcast episode. So don't worry, we're going to answer all your questions about the legal side of things and intent to marry and how much time you need to do it and where you go and do you need to phone people or can you do it via email? Spoiler alert, initially it has to be on the phone and then you can email people. It's a bit confusing, but we're going to cover all of that in a future episode. But it's really helpful early on in your engagement to familiarize yourself with it because if you think about it, if you're having the wedding celebration but you haven't thought about the legal side of things, what you're really doing is planning a big party. But the legal side of things is actually the most important part because that's when you're going to get married. And that's the point, isn't it? So take the time to familiarize yourself with everything to do with registering your intent to marry, getting legally married in Ireland. And it means that you'll have your timing sorted and you'll know exactly when to get documents in and what you need and where you need to send it. Okay, now we're getting stuck into the wedding planning. So we've announced our engagement, we've taken time to celebrate, we have decided on the style, we've familiarized ourselves with the legal things, and now we can start planning. This is what I recommend. Set a date. Now, there are a few things that you want to consider when it comes to setting a date. And some of these questions you may have thought of when you were talking about the type of wedding you want to have. Things like this. What time of year do you want to get married? Do you want to have a sunny summer wedding? Or do you want to have a festive Christmas wedding? Or maybe something else? How about your engagement length? Think about how long you want to be engaged for, and that will help determine when you get married. What about special dates? Do you want to get married on your dating anniversary? Or how about your parents' wedding anniversary? Or maybe there's another date that's really special to you and you want to get married then. That could help you. And finally, your wedding venue. Now, setting a date and picking a wedding venue, it's a little bit of a chicken or egg situation. Which comes first? In my opinion, there's no right or wrong way to do it. So you could either set your date and then you find a wedding venue that's available on that date, or you pick a venue and you find out which dates they have available and you choose one. It depends on your priority. If your date is the priority because it's special to you, or you really want to get married in winter or summer or whatever it might be, then you start there. But if you actually have your eye on a wedding venue, go there first, find out when they're available, and book the venue. Now, finding your supplier dream team is where you want to go next. And I've already spoken about all the different decisions you have to make. So I'm going to give you a little list of who you should be booking first. But first, I have some expert advice from Caroline. She is one of our wedding planning experts in our Help I'm Getting Married Facebook group, or HIGM for short. And I actually asked her what couples like you are asking in the group when they first join and when they are newly engaged. This is what she had to say.
Hi Kelly. Usually the first question we get asked on HIGM is, we're going to look at our venue. What questions should we be asking? These are just a few of my top tips. Have a good idea of the minimum number of guests you will have on your day. How many rooms are available? What extras are included in packages? Is there a bar extension, and how much does that cost? What options are there for a day 2? Will there be rooms available on day 2? Bring a notebook and take notes. Don't rush into anything and read through your contract before paying a deposit. My absolute top tip would be keep your options open. Ask about offers for off-peak months and days. Midweek weddings are becoming increasingly popular, and the extra funds could contribute to the all-important honeymoon fund.
Okay, Caroline, thank you so much for that expert advice. So if you missed that, Caroline is from our Facebook group, which is called Help I'm Getting Married. And don't forget, I said I put a link in the notes so that you can join the group. And she's told us all about going to look at your venue and knowing what to look for. So let me just refresh your memory. So you want to ask about how many rooms there are. You want to have an idea in your head first about the minimum amount of guests that you want to invite. You want to know about the extras that are included. You want to ask questions like, is there a bar extension? And what are the day 2 options? Caroline advised to take a notebook with you, which I think is a great idea because then you can take notes of all the things that they say to you and you don't have to try and remember all of them. And she also said, read your contract beforehand, keep your options open, and ask about options like off-peak days, like I mentioned earlier. So now Caroline raised a really good point about looking for your wedding venue. And there are so many things to think about. And there are some other suppliers that you're going to want to book really early on. So in addition to your reception venue, if that venue isn't where you want to have your ceremony, then you want to start thinking about your ceremony venue too. So this is if you want to get married in a church and then have the celebration at a reception venue. A lot of people choose one venue that does both, and that's great too. Other suppliers that you want to start booking is your photographer and videographer because they're capturing all the fun and all the activities on your wedding day, so you want to prioritize them. You want to think about your band and DJ because they're the ones who are going to get the party started. And of course, your wedding planner who's actually going to make everything come together for you. So let me summarize this for you. If you are newly engaged, firstly, congratulations and welcome to the world of wedding planning. But here are the things that we said that you want to do first. You want to announce the news. You want to enjoy your engagement, take some time to celebrate. Then get yourself organized. So that's spreadsheets, email address, and the wedding checklist. You want to join the Facebook community. We can't wait to welcome you. You want to decide on the type of wedding that you're going to have. You then want to familiarize yourself with the legal requirements, set your date and book your venue, whichever order works best for you, and then start booking your other key suppliers. Thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays at Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mastered, mixed, and edited by Glenn Hartman. A special shout out to this week's wedding planning expert, Caroline Dunn from the Help I'm Getting Married Facebook community. To get free access to our wedding planning tools, checklists, recommended venues and suppliers, expert advice and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.